Long ago, before Rome ruled the world, before Greece raised its columns, a mighty kingdom rose from the sands of North Africa. It was a place of eternal gods, golden tombs, and a river that gave life to the desert. This was Egypt, a land that would rise to become the greatest civilization of the ancient world. And then, just as powerfully, it would fall. This is the story of how it all began and how it all ended. Egypt was not born in cities or in wars. Egypt was born from a river, the Nile. Flowing northward from the deep heart of Africa, the Nile gave life to one of the driest places on earth. Every year, the river flooded. And every time it did, it left behind dark, rich soil. That soil made farming possible, fed animals, grew crops, and gave rise to life. Without the Nile, there would be no Egypt. In the beginning, Egypt was not one country. There was Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north. Each had its own ruler, its own customs. But around 3100 BCE, a powerful king named Narmer, also known as Menes, brought the two lands together. He wore a crown that combined the white of Upper Egypt and the red of Lower Egypt. Under his rule, Egypt became one kingdom, one people, one future. Narmer's unification of Egypt marked the beginning of the first dynasty, and with it came the most powerful symbol of the land, the pharaoh. The pharaoh was more than a king. He was seen as a living god, the human form of Horus, the sky god. He ruled with absolute power. The people believed he was chosen by the gods to keep harmony, what they called Mat. Without the pharaoh, there would be chaos. From around 2700 BCE, Egypt entered what we now call the Old Kingdom, its first golden age. It was a time of peace, stability, and massive building. Pharaohs began constructing pyramids, gigantic tombs to hold their bodies for the afterlife. The most famous of these was the Great Pyramid of Giza. Built for Pharaoh Khufu, it was once the tallest man-made structure in the world. It still stands today as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The pyramids weren't just graves. They were statements, messages to the universe. They told the world that the pharaoh was eternal, that Egypt would last forever. To build them, thousands of workers, architects, and laborers worked for years. Some were slaves. Many were paid workers. All labored under the burning sun, moving limestone blocks weighing tons. Their reward was not just in gold, but in glory, in building something that would outlast time itself. Religion was at the heart of Egyptian life. The people believed in many gods, gods of the sky, of the river, of birth and death. The most powerful was Ra, the sun god, who traveled across the sky each day and through the underworld at night. Egyptians believed in the afterlife, mummified their dead to preserve the body for the soul's journey. They filled tombs with food, statues, and treasures for the next world. Death was not the end. It was only the beginning. But no kingdom lasts forever. Around 2200 BCE, the Old Kingdom began to fall apart. The Nile's floods became unpredictable. Crops failed, famine spread. The people lost faith in the pharaoh's divine power. Local governors gained control. Egypt fractured into small states. The central government collapsed. This dark time is known as the First Intermediate Period, a century of struggle and confusion. Egypt, however, would rise again. Around 2050 BCE, a strong leader named Mentuhotep II reunited the country. He restored the temples, reopened trade routes, and brought back the idea of Mat, order, balance, and justice. This new era, called the Middle Kingdom, was marked by stability, art, and literature. The pharaohs learned from the past. Instead of giant pyramids, they built hidden tombs in the cliffs near Thebes. They ruled wisely, focusing more on the needs of their people. The Middle Kingdom also saw a rise in creativity. Scribes wrote poems, wisdom texts, and stories. Artists painted detailed scenes of daily life on tomb walls. Farmers in the fields, dancers at banquets, fishermen on the river. This was Egypt's human age, an era where the people mattered as much as the pharaoh. Trade flourished with nearby lands. Fortresses were built to protect the borders. Egypt was strong once more, but peace never lasts. Around 1650 BCE, a foreign people known as the Hyksos entered Egypt. They came with new weapons, horses, and war chariots. Slowly, they took control of the Nile Delta and ruled parts of Egypt for nearly a century. It was a humiliating time for the Egyptians, but it also taught them new technology, tools they would one day use to take their kingdom back. Around 1550 BCE, the Egyptians drove out the Hyksos and began the greatest chapter of their history, the New Kingdom. This was the age of empire. Pharaohs became conquerors. Egypt expanded its borders, taking land in Nubia, Canaan, and beyond. Massive temples were built, like Karnak and Luxor. The capital moved to Thebes. Gold poured in from foreign lands. This was Egypt at the height of its power and wealth. The New Kingdom gave the world some of its most famous pharaohs. There was Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh who ruled like a king and built one of Egypt's most beautiful temples. There was Thutmose III, who led armies across the Middle East and was called the Napoleon of Egypt. And there was Akhenaten, the heretic king, who changed everything by worshipping only one god, Aten, sun disk. Akhenaten's rule was unlike any other. He shut down the temples of the old gods. He moved the capital to a new city, Amarna. He claimed that Aten was the only true god. A shocking idea in a land of many gods. The people were confused. The priests were angry. After Akhenaten's death, his revolution was reversed. His name was scratched off monuments. The old gods returned, and the boy king who followed him, Tutankhamun, became a symbol of healing. Then came Ramses II, Ramses the Great. He ruled for 66 years and built more monuments than any pharaoh before or after. He fought great battles, including the famous Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites. He signed what many believed to be the world's first peace treaty. Ramses was seen as the ultimate king, strong, wise, and divine. He claimed to be a god. Statues of him were carved into mountains. He wanted to be remembered forever, but even Ramses couldn't stop the coming storm. After his death, Egypt began to weaken. Invasions, corruption, and bad leadership drained the land's strength. Foreign powers saw Egypt as a prize. The Sea Peoples attacked. Libyans crossed the borders. Internal fighting returned. The empire shrank. Temples were abandoned. Tombs were robbed. Gods grew silent. Over the next centuries, Egypt was ruled by outsiders. The Nubians came from the south and took control. Then the Assyrians from the north. Then the Persians. Egypt was still Egypt, but it was no longer free. Then came the Greeks. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt and was welcomed as a liberator. After his death, one of his generals, Ptolemy, became pharaoh. For nearly 300 years, Greek rulers sat on Egypt's throne. The last of these rulers was Cleopatra VII, a brilliant queen who spoke many languages and played the political game with the Roman Empire. She ruled in a time of great tension, trying to protect Egypt's independence. She formed alliances with Julius Caesar, then Mark Antony, but in the end, Rome won. After her defeat by Octavian, later called Augustus, Cleopatra took her own life. It was 30 BCE. Egypt became a Roman province. The age of the pharaohs was over. But Egypt never truly disappeared. Its monuments still rise from the sand. Its pyramids still pierce the sky. Its temples still whisper ancient prayers. The Rosetta Stone unlocked its language. The tomb of Tutankhamun amazed the world. Mummies, gold, and gods all continue to spark wonder. Egypt is not just history, it is memory, mystery, magic. The story of Egypt is more than kings and wars. It is a mirror, a reminder that even the greatest powers rise and fall, that rivers can give life, and that time can take it away. Egypt rose from mud and water, built stone dreams that reached for the stars. It fell not in fire, but in silence. Slowly, gently, like a breath fading in the wind. If you were moved by this journey, subscribe to our channel for more untold stories. Which ancient empire should we explore next? Leave a comment below, and thank you for traveling back in time with us.